And we welcome you to the August edition of Eye on the Storm, your monthly look at Rio Grande Athletics. I'm Randy Payton, Sports Information Director here at Rio Grande, joined by our Athletic Director, Jeff Lanham. We'll be joined a little later by our soccer coaches, Tony Daniels, the women's soccer head coach, and Scott Morrissey, the men's soccer head coach. We're going to start, though, with a quick look at volleyball, which has started its season. Jeff, they're off to a 2-3 start. I guess still getting through the paces of a lot of new faces on the team.
That is right, and they just got back from a trip down south. They did a fundraiser and went to Miami, Florida. Played very good competition down there, and I think the newcomers had some eye-opening experience down there. They came back last night and beat a conference foe in Ohio Christian, but
in a
non-conference game. There was supposed to be a third team, but ended up just being a one team 1v1 team match, and they feel very confident. They're not to their peak, and they feel like they're going to be very competitive.
The win last night over Ohio Christian snapped a 3-game losing streak. Red Storm won their first game down in Florida against Florida Memorial, dropped 3 in a row. Won last night, as Jeff said, so they're 2-3 as they head to Pittsburgh next weekend. So they've got a few days off. We mentioned they've got 3 senior players back in Caleb Riley, Chandler Brown, Autumn Snyder. Obviously, those are good people to build around. But again, a lot of new faces that Coach Donaldson's having to put in the lineup.
I spoke with a couple of those gals today and just asked them how it went yesterday, and they felt good about it. They said we've got a week and a half to get ready for going up north to Point Park. That'll be a big challenge for us within the league. Again, they're excited. They feel like they're going to be able to prepare and be ready to roll.
Again, they are in action come Labor Day weekend up at the Battle of the Boulevard, hosted by Point Park. They'll take on Siena Heights, Montreat, Lawrence Tech, and the host Pioneers. Going to bring in our first guest as we turn the page toward men's soccer. The Rio Grande Red Storm off to a 2-0 start with wins over St. Xavier and Cardinal Stritch. They're in action at home this weekend on Saturday against Indiana Wesleyan. And we bring in head coach Scott Morrissey. And I guess question number one, obviously no pressure on you guys to try to go out and do what you did last year,
right,
which was win a national championship.
Right. Well, I mean, we have a really good group of players returning. We have a very good recruiting class, and I mean the pressure is really from within because we have high expectations every year, and fortunately last year we were able to win a national championship, and it just goes without saying that that's what our expectations are every year. So for us to try and duplicate it again, obviously it'll be a tall order, but we're going to give it our best shot, and every year is no different. I think every team we play, it's probably their biggest game of the year, so nothing really changes. The expectations are still the same. We want to win a national championship each year that we step out.
Scott, you lost a few players from last year's team. Can you talk a little bit about your returners? You've got a lot of people returning.
Yeah, this is an exceptional year where we have just about everybody back. Starting with, out of the back, all 4 of the guys who played last year, and then including Ben, our goalkeeper, those guys are all back. So we've got a lot of experience out of the back, midfield play. The only starter that is not returning is Luis Filho, who played up front. We feel like we've brought in 2 or 3 options to make us a little bit different, a little bit better, maybe a little more dynamic. Luis was a huge factor for us, but played a certain type of role in how he played. And we've brought in players that we think are a little bit different, a little more dynamic than Luis.
Before we go next, talk about you have the Player of the Year returning.
Yes.
And your goalkeeper Ben, the awards that he was.
The three All-Americans return, and Will Paulino, Joel Paulo Antonio, and Ben Martinez. And certainly those 3 guys were the winners of all the accolades, but there's certainly a cast of additional players who made that happen for them. Will was the benefactor of scoring a lot of goals. Ben was the benefactor of having a great 10 players in front of him. Not that saying that he wasn't he wasn't an important factor because they all are. But we've got a very, very strong core of players returning, as well as a very good nucleus of first-year guys. The chemistry is very important and very good on the team, and guys work hard. And again, our expectations are to win a national championship. We know that won't be easy.
You talk about some of those newcomers. I guess if you would kind of break down the new group of guys. I know one of them who is in his first year, but he's only going to be here 1 year, is a great player in Lucas Beffy.
Yeah, Lucas Beffy is a guy that 4 years ago we recruited and we looked at and considered, and he was in that same group of guys that included Heitor DeMello and Will Paulino. And Lucas chose to go to Belhaven. Well, that was the year Belhaven were national champions. And they went through that transition phase where they went NCAA. And Lucas sat out a year, and that's why he's got one season of competition remaining. And he was he just wanted a change for his last year. Was able to work academically where he can obtain his degree, and we can obviously utilize him in his last year of eligibility. He's a front player and very dynamic and a very, very explosive player. We're looking forward to having his services. We've got a number of new players, not just Lucas, but we've got a number of freshmen from all over, midfielders, defenders. So we feel very excited about all of the guys that are here and hopefully going to contribute. We think our depth is very good, and that's what it takes to win a national championship. You got to have depth and quality, and we feel like we've got all those areas covered.
Scott, you mentioned you've got some new people in, and you've done this for years. You have players from all over the world,
right?
And that a challenge of trying to mesh them together to all be on the same page. How difficult is that?
Well, it is difficult, and the one thing that we talk about all the time, daily in training, and as we've gone through the preseason, is there's a number of guys that can all contribute and play, and the minutes are going to be spread out accordingly. And it's not about any individual, it's about what's best for the team. And I think it starts, and it's my responsibility and the coaching staff's responsibility to really hammer that home, because as long as everybody buys into that, we should be okay. But at any given time, if that starts to go the wrong way, then that's when we can have problems. And it's like I've told all the players, there's a number of guys that could probably go anywhere in the country and play immediately. And there's a group of guys that are going to have to share some minutes this year because we've got so many players. And so, for me, it's more about what's best for the team and not for any individual. It's never been about an individual.
Before we let you go, kind of talk about your schedule a little bit. I know when you start looking down at the line of opponents coming your way, there are a bunch of teams that are like you in the top 25.
Sure. The non-conference schedule has to be as good as possible, and we benefited last year from having a lot of home games. This season, though, we're a little bit more on the away side than the home side. We'll face Indiana Wesleyan, top 10. We'll face Lindsey Wilson, UNOH. We'll face Union College.
It was the only team that beat you.
Yeah. Union was beat us in the regular season. We'll go down to Savannah and play Savannah Art and Design and Southeastern. So you're talking about several opponents on the non-conference side of the schedule that were national tournament qualifiers. And then in the conference, West Virginia Tech, national tournament qualifier. Point Park, who's been there and done that, they're going to be a very difficult team. So we feel like we've got an outstanding schedule, a lot on the road, and it should certainly prepare us for that stretch of late September, October when we do get into conference play. We're excited to get it rolling.
Well, good luck throughout the rest of this season. I know you guys are anxious to play before the home folk on Saturday night against Indiana Wesleyan.
Oh, it should be a great game.
All right, Scott, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Scott.
Again, that's Saturday night, 7 o'clock kickoff as the Red Storm men make their home debut this season against Indiana Wesleyan. The Rio Grande women's program this year under new direction, but it's a familiar face, Jeff, and we'll hear from him here in a little bit. But Tony Daniels taking over, and I know a lot of people excited to see what he can do with that women's squad.
Right, Tony's been with us on the men's side for 25 years, and Tony is a Rio grad, kind of up in the Cleveland area originally, and came down to school and has, I guess we can't get rid of him now. Maybe that's what it is. But it's, really excited about having Tony with us, and really look forward to the future of women's soccer here at Rio Grande.
Well, he joins us now on set, and like we said, you get it all going tomorrow night against Davenport. It's a big foe to try to open a season with, but at the same time, as you take over this job, you've got some pretty nice building blocks to work around. There were some kids that were on the team last year that are back this year.
Yeah, we have 13 returning players, and I think that's going to be a big push for us because of their seasoned ability to go ahead and play. The biggest thing for us right now is just recultivating a landscape and understanding how we need to go ahead and build for the future. And this group of girls that we've currently brought in and the girls that are here are going to be our foundation for the rest of the years to come.
Tony, you've been with, as I mentioned, 25 years. That's correct, right?
Yes.
25 years on the men's side.
On the men's side.
And I know you've done some coaching of female athletes in the summertime and those kind of things. But what would be some challenges that you face now by going from a men's side to the women's side? What are some challenges that are out there?
Well, with the program starting about 8 years ago, it's been slow off the marks, just like it was with the men back 25 years ago.
Right.
And it's just about getting the right personnel in there. It's changing everything from the girls academically to understanding the girls technically. And has it been a challenge for me right now? Yeah, it has. But I did it for a reason. Things happen for a reason, and I'm looking at building these girls up to where and try to take them where the men are. So,
Once you got the job, one of your, you hit the ground running in terms of recruiting. You lose the program's all-time leading scorer in Casey Crow, but you went out and signed a bunch of kids. Kind of talk about some of the new faces that the fans can look for this year.
yeah, and where I took over, my predecessor, Cal Morris and Craig Davies, they sort of already laid the groundwork, so to speak, with some of the girls that are coming in. So accolades to them in the sense of these girls, because I just stepped in and they were already come. But I have a girl from Uniota, Lexi Moffmer, who, Cal sort of tabbed as Casey Crow's predecessor. And, she's a little bit raw right now, but I think here in the next year or so, you're going to see some big things out of her. I have another girl from Chillicothe, Kylie, and one of her other friends that played on the high school team, Jenna Porter. So I think those two girls, since they've played together for a long time, are going to help that cohesion that I'm looking for. Then I signed a girl from Ecuador as a goalkeeper. I got another girl from the Ross County area, Allie Jones from Zane Trace. So I think I'm trying to broaden the horizon of the women. I think America's the forefront of soccer in that sense. I think the rest of the world's catching up to us quite fast. But I'm trying to get that athletic mind with a good academic background to go ahead and build what I need to build.
You've got a new player coming in as we speak.
A new
maybe.
player coming in right now. She's on her way back. Hopefully she's not lost. But she's from Cape Town, South Africa, Johannesburg. And she came to me back in the spring through a recommendation of a friend named Danielle D'Souza. And she's late getting here because of the I-20 and all the stuff that you have to go through. But I see a big promise in her this upcoming year as well.
Your expectations for this year. You and I talked in your office the other day. Rome wasn't built in a day. And this is, I think, people that think Tony's around instantly, it's going to be national tournament or bust. It's a process that you're going to have to go through.
Oh, very much so, Randy. And I remind the girls of that on a day in, day out basis. just because I'm the coach, just because I've brought in Zach Breth from Chillicothe and Whitney Solanich from Limestone, that's all great. But it's the whole apparatus of building the mind on and off the field, what we have to do with these girls. Now, I know last year was a decent year. I don't think they lived up to their expectations. Our beginning of our season, our first 5-6 games are going to be against very difficult. I think 4 of them are top 25 teams. And in order to get better, you have to play against better competition. And I have to have that mindset with my girls and understand that we're going to have our ups and downs. But my biggest thing is trying to come in and get these girls right for our conference play. And to understand that that is our ticket. As long as we take care of conference, everything else is moot point. And I think I have those girls on top of that mentally and physically right now. So, and you know, I'm looking for my actual first year recruiting coming up to help implement with these girls that we have currently now.
So Tony, speaking about the conference, how can you qualify to get into the national tournament?
You have to win the conference tournament. So it doesn't make a difference if you win the overall conference itself. Everybody is broken down after the conference is over into a conference tournament. And then as long as you're the last man standing at the end of the conference tournament, you get an automatic qualifier to the first round of the national tournament.
And what we want to do is we want to be as high as we can in that conference because we get to host games.
Yes. So the higher we are, we'll get to host games, then also have a better selection of teams that we're going to play. And what difference from us, and you know, you just heard from Scott, for the last 25 years, our outlook every year was to win the national championship, to play on December the 5th. So my mindset has to been dropped down a little bit, and we have to have stepping stones. And to understand that from the girls' side of it as well as the coaches' side of it. So,
Before we let you go, again, you get started tomorrow night against Davenport. Personally, how excited are you?
Excited, nervous, everything. Butterflies in the stomach. And, you know, like I said earlier, things happen for a reason. I've taken this job because of something. Don't get me wrong, I look back at what I've left with the men, and it was great. But now I get to put my own stamp to something. So, am I nervous? Sure. But that's not life if you're not nervous. You're not doing something if you're not nervous about it. So I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a great evening. I know there's going to be people out there cheering the girls on. So yes.
We appreciate having you with us this afternoon.
Well, thank you very much.
Good luck.
Good luck.
Thank you. Thank you.
Tony Daniels, the head coach of the Rio Grande women's soccer team. We move a little head forward now. We talk about the Patty Forgy Invitational, one of the big cross-country events that Rio Grande hosts. It'll happen on the 24th of September, so it will happen before our September edition of Eye on the Storm. And Jeff, it's an event that is big every fall here on campus. It draws a lot of people to the campus. The 46th year.
It is, and just to think about that, any event that we have going on for 46 years is just phenomenal. And we did rename this to the Patty Forgy. Patty Forgy was the secretary in the athletic department for 45 years. She worked here. Actually worked for my father for 20 years, and when I first became AD, she was the secretary as well. So it's a great stamp. Patty used to score these cross-country meets by hand, and I just can't even imagine how she did that. And you know, today it's all there's technology that's out there that has everybody runs across the line and their pictures taken, and all this is involved. Patty did that by hand and for years and years and years. So it's good that it's being named by her. We have so many coaches in local high schools that are Rio grads that come back that want to be a part of this and understand just the history that's behind this. And of course, Coach Willie has been with us 35 of those 46 years, so he's been involved with this, and he does absolutely does a fantastic job preparing that, and which leads right into our hosting of the district high school cross-country meet that's taking place October 22nd here on our campus as well.
And I think a lot of people, for the uninitiated that don't know, it's not just a college cross-country invitational meet. There's a high school division, there's a middle school division, boys and girls in each of those divisions. And like I said, there'll be quite a few faces on campus that morning.
That's right. I think we have 10 races that day, and two of the high school, or two college, a men's college, a women's college. We have an open race that goes on during that day that anyone can come and run in. We also have junior high, and those are big. There's 150, 160 runners on our course, and then we have the high school breakdown. There's 4 of each of those divisions involved there. So we have quite a few races, quite a few things going on there. And maybe, Randy, just real quick before we move on to another subject, for people who maybe can see this, we are updating our cross-country course. We're widening all of our bridges. After this week, all of our bridges will be updated, brand new. So we've got that construction that's going on as we speak, so that we can handle races of 170 to 190 individuals. And that's exciting about what's going on here at the university.
And again, that will take place on September the 24th. It'll get started at a 10 o'clock first run for the high school girls. It'll end at 1:10 as the college men wrap it up. And that is again on Saturday morning, September the 24th. We mentioned that is part of a very busy Rio Grande athletic schedule. And we've got a chance to put up some of the matches that are going to be taking place throughout the course of the remainder of August and up until our next show in late September. And you see there on the screen, of course, we talked with Tony Daniels about Davenport, his opening game tomorrow night, and the Indiana Wesleyan men's soccer game here on Saturday. And it moves right on into a very busy September. And Jeff, I know we talked about it in our last show, when you add in JV programs and things like that, as that list continues to scroll, there's a lot of things going on involving Rio Grande athletics.
Yes, there is. And Randy, that on Saturday we have our volleyball is having our first, as far as I know, it's the first JV volleyball team we've ever had here at Rio Grande. And they open up with a 3-way here for this Saturday. I think we've got Alice Lloyd involved with that, and OU Lancaster are the 3 teams with our Rio Grande JV team as well. So it is definitely we're going to be busy here in the fall, and with all of the activities, all the events going on top of that, every program we have is practicing too. So we're all doing conditioning, we're all doing weightlifting. There's a lot of activity that's taking place here very quickly. Here in the new opening of the new school year of 16-17.
Yeah, and we want to remind folks, you can find out information about all of our sports and about the broadcast, the Eye on the Storm. You can visit the school's website, which is rio.edu, or you can go to the athletic website, which is www.rioredstorm.com. A couple of other things that we want to get to before we wrap it up. That'll take place in September as well. The Fall Basketball Academy taking place. Registration is currently underway for that. It'll begin on September the 11th and run for 4 consecutive Sundays. You can get in touch with either Rio Grande men's basketball head coach Ken French at 740-245-7294, or head coach David Smalley of the women's program, 740-245-7491. That's a pretty big deal too.
It is, and that's an opportunity for our youth, local youth, to come out and they work. All of our basketball players, the teams come out and work with the youth. It's a fun time. I think our players benefit from this. Our players benefit from this, and so it's not just about just the youth that's there. It's our players are definitely taking advantage of that, and it's good that our youth come out and get involved with it. And so it makes it just a neat way to kick off the year and getting started going into the basketball season.
And before we wrap it up, we've got a fundraiser coming up for the Rio softball team, and it involves professional wrestling. The Rumble at Rio will come your way on September the 17th. A first bell time of 7:30. Family-friendly fun, action-packed entertainment. Everybody loves a good old pro wrestling match.
That's right, and I'm really looking forward to this, Randy. I had a gentleman, Scott Russell, who I've known for a couple years, was involved with this wrestling organization for 19 years as a promoter and being involved in it both as a wrestler. And he said, hey, this would be something neat that you could do at Rio Grande. And we kind of threw it around a little bit, and then we were just talking about it among the softball players, and they heard about it, they overheard, and their eyes got big, and they started naming the wrestlers. They knew the guys who we were talking about. And I mean, we've got wrestlers coming from Florida, Virginia, here in Ohio, Tennessee, from all over the place coming in. And it's kind of a neat way to be a fundraiser. It's going to be a nice thing for our own student body to be involved with it. Tickets are $10 to get in. We just got word from Dina Warren that our student services is going to the first 50 Rio Grande students that come to the softball office and get a ticket, get in free. So the first 50 that do that,
That's my favorite four-letter word.
that's the best way to do it. So if you're out there and you hear this and you want to come watch that, you can go to the softball office and get tickets, and then we'll make it happen. It's going to be a fun day, a rumble at Rio.
Bluegrass Championship Wrestling. And again, it starts at 7:30. If you want more info on that, it will be available again on the Rio Grande Athletic website, which is www.rioredstorm.com. You can also find more information out at rio.edu. And that is going to put a wrap on the August edition of Eye on the Storm. We appreciate Scott Morrissey and Tony Daniels for joining us, and Jeff, another busy month ahead of us.
That's right. We're ready to go. Go
All
Rio.
right. That's exactly right. And we'll talk with you on the September version of Eye on the Storm on the final Wednesday, the fourth Wednesday of the month of September. But until then, so long, everyone.